In terms of the Time Lord Victorious stuff I own all of the Big Finish audios on download and the 8th Doctor trilogy and Genetics of the Daleks on CD. Echoes of Extinction is download and vinyl only, and short trips and the 2 short trips are download only as well. And also the Time Lord Victorious Defender of the Daleks comic and the 2 books plus the Blu-ray. I have not read the books nor the comic yet, but I have heard the audios. I also own the Doctor Who magazine comic supplement, Monstrous Beauty, which I think I have read. It's buried, which I think I have read, but it's buried somewhere, so I'm not showing that. Same with the Doomsday one. And speaking of Doomsday, I owned the Big Finish Dying Hours box set on CD and download, and the comic A Doctor in the House, which I have yet to read. I have heard the audios. They're actually really good. I haven't got the book yet because nobody seems to be selling it. Or if they are, it's hard to get anyway. I'm just waiting for this car to go because if I speak, it's a van. It came with the supplement of the Circuit Breaker Doctor Who magazine. No, Doctor Who more. Yes. It came with the supplement, the Doctor Who magazine Circuit Breaker. No. It came with the supplement of the Circuit Breaker comic, that's Doctor Who magazine. No. Now, it's occurred to me that, or rather, I've known this for a while. Obviously, Matt reviewed the 8th Doctor Big Finish audios as well as the 2 short trips in a video in 2020, as well as reviewing the 2 books. Of course, Matt reviewed the Time Lord Victorious as well as the 2 short trips from I also got the Time Lord Victorious Road to the Dark Times Blu-ray, which includes stories that tie into Time Lord Victorious via the themes, or in the case of the Waters of Mars, it's the Kickstarter to it. I've also got the free Doctor Who magazine comic supplement for these. I've also got all of the Doctor Who magazine supplements for these free multimedia projects, but the other 2 are hiding somewhere, so that's why I didn't get those out. In terms of the Circuit Breaker stuff I am hoping to get the Titan Comics releases, but in terms of the Circuit Breaker, I've also read the second of the 2 Doomsday web prose things on the Doctor website. I do have to read the first one, and of course I've seen the trailers and webcasts and clip stuff that all 3 have put out. In terms of Circuit Breaker, as well as the online reading the online stuff, I am planning to get the 2 Titan comic things, but in the compilation graphic novel that they'll release at the end of the year. The Kaleidoscope book which Jo Martin herself is writing, and of course the Big Finish audio box set and the 2 short trips that will be coming in the autumn. And of course the Big Finish audio box set and short trips. And a pair of short trips. I did consider the Doctor and the 3 Witches, but I think that's going to be part of an updated Fairy Tales collection set. This will be the second update to that set, as they had a paperback compilation release, and then they did the box set of each story in their own hardback copies and included a new story. So this will be a third update, but with a 17th story added. I'm not so worried about the Lost in Time games. I'm going to pass on that. And of course, Honourable Society got that. But there's also the Circuit Breaker Time compilation Blu-ray that's coming out, which I might not get at release, but I might wait for it to go down in price, similar to what I did with Road to the dark times. I waited for that to go down a little. I think it went down to the 20s when I got this instead of being released in the 30s. Now it's down to about £10 or £11 on Amazon if you want to get it. Is that a bit of plastic still left in there? Yeah, it is. But it got me. But Doomsday didn't get a Blu-ray like. But I thought would it be a fun idea to do a. But I thought I would challenge myself to see if I could make a compilation Blu-ray release featuring stories from 1963 to 2022, because this would have come out in 2023 if it was real. I thought it would be a. So before I start hypothetically consider, oh fuck off, Genesis of the Daleks with up to plan up. Um, um, Although interestingly, they say that they find artifacts from across. No, it's not that one, is it? That's... Hang on. Also, I would have thought the first object would have tied in more. Also, I would have thought the first Sontaran objects would have tied in more. No, that's good. With the clockwork. And finally, the Impossible Asteroid Gave Them In, which is actually going to tie in with the Kaleidoscope book rather than one of the objects featured in one of the other stories. Um, so, which sees the fugitive Doctor meets the. No, it doesn't. The second so yeah, so that's due. Releasing 2 comics, which will later be released as a compilation, which were later compilated into the graphic novel, which were relate, and then later the compilation graphic novel would include both, and each of those, yeah, and all 4. Hour 6 and 7 form the first. So hour 6 and 7 are in. So hour 6 and 7 are in the first release, but it's still but they're still Hour 10 is the first of the East Side game. Hour 10 is the first of the 2 Lost in Time game, and you notice on the. Also, it's the 13th Doctor, and also what Chameleon disguises himself as for a bit until revealing his actual disguise. Technically, the 13th Doctor doesn't appear. Technically, the real 13th Doctor appeared. Fuck. Technically, the 13th Doctor doesn't really. Technically, the real 13th Doctor doesn't appear in this or the other East Side game release. Oh, fuck's sake. There's a guy in a electric motor chair on the main on the main road, but on the road. Forbidden Planet doesn't even have it, and it's almost not even Amazon seems to have it on a regular availability. Did they not print that? And features, and as well as Comedian, which I forgot to mention here for some reason, it also features. Oh, fuck's sake. How many cars need to go around, drive off at quarter to, or 10, or it's now 10 to 12 on a Friday? It's blue car. Blue? How many bloody cars there need to be about on a Friday afternoon? Late morning, end of morning. Bloody hell. Oh, they'll be coming out soon as well. Great. Hours 16 to 19? Yeah. Technically. Yeah, there's Doctors who are getting like 2 appearances, and then you've got Doctors who hardly get any. Trantis 2 specifically. The final. That being said, I do have a Daleks Master Plan related bonus content option. Like if you wanted a bonus episode. The second, hour 21, which is where Doom tries to protect Jelly. And there's some revelations that are slightly anticlimactic. As mentioned earlier, um, but the under. But like I said, animation. Those have been, but as I mentioned, stories that have been animated or part animated. Also, the TV movie is the TV movie is also and of course series one, and of course the entirety of the new series, though Rose to the next Doctor again. It's will do, but maybe they ups and they've been released a little bit earlier than ever. But yeah. So I'm gonna do a long list of the but we shall go through a couple of stories, and then if we needed to cut it down to maybe 8 stories for the release, then maybe what stories maybe we could lose for that. But I'm happy with the shortlist being the final one. So we're going to go for a long list of 18 selected stories, plus a few others I did consider and swap in and out with some other stories before we get to a short list of 12. I did want to have 6 to 12 in this set, as this hypothetical set. As Time Lord Victorious' one has 7 and Doomsday's has 10. This is stories, not episodes. If we're going episode count wise, Doomsday's will be more than 12. Circuit Breakers is about 17, although Genesis of the Daleks, the episodes are half the length of the New Who episodes, so it'd be about the length of 14. And then Road to the Dark Times. This was 12, 16, 20, 24, and then Road to the Dark Times was 26 episodes over the 7 stories. So had less stories in that set, but more episodes than the upcoming Circuit Breaker one. So we're aiming. So I've aimed for 6 to 12 stories, and I've settled on a short list of 12, and can also maybe on it if a final one was going to go down to 6 or 8 or 10, we can suggest which ones of the short list we could even take out. Although I think the short list is is fairly concrete, aside from if they wanted to take a few episodes out or reduce the number of stories down a bit. But for the long list, first of all, I put and the extraction point bit, and in the and I'm apart from one option on the long list, which doesn't even make the short list, I don't think. Yeah. But for this long list, at the very least, so if you understand what that means, and Impossible Planet, Satan Pit, and Doctor's Wife are also possible options, but I think Planet of the Apes is the best one to represent. I'm going to turn this off. Hang on. I'm starting again because I got the notification. Just going to check this. I'm just responding to Mr. Harry Thomas about YouTube anniversaries. Funny enough, we have the same year anniversaries, just different times of the summer. Okay. This is mainly, this is the only Dalek. This is one of only 2 Dalek stories on this list, and it was originally the only one. But I decided this is one of only for a release like this if we went ahead with it. Or if we went ahead with this over Twice Upon a Time, which is more about the 2 doctors' relationship with each other, as well as the general, is it the Colonel Mark Gatiss' character, as well as their relationship with the Colonel and the Glass people. Next, but Terror of the Autons also introduces 2 major characters to the franchise. Well, firstly, Joe Grant, companion for that, so actually introduces 3 new characters, as well as Mike Yates, the other one being Mike Yates. But the 2 main ones we're worried about for this is Joe Grant. It also, the story, as it's the one didn't really want to go for a 6-parter. Then again, that would be the Web Planet and I need to change it. So I've settled on the Dalek invasion of Earth, and then that gives me a second Dalek story in case Into the Dalek doesn't make it onto the overall shortlist. If it doesn't make it into the short, if that's, and I made it as much as the chase would make a lot of sense regarding Ian and Barbara's storyline, I think Dalek's master plan, not fucking master plan, because we can't put master plan on there. It's missing most of its episodes, and by this point in time, it's missing even more episodes. Now, this episode is the Jackie Tyler episode we need in that episode. So Love and Monsters is the perfect choice. Route to where me and Will went. Possibly. And both for black and white, and especially if they had the black and white episode also in especially since they had the black and white episode with the surviving episodes. So sad. But I've gone with the Faceless Ones as, again, it has slightly better connection. But I've gone with the Faceless Ones because, again, the chameleons look closer to the Slitheen without being a direct resemblance. Also, as a bonus fact, Clom, where the Absorbaloff is from, is the twin planet of Raxaphalavocatorus. I think I said that fairly correctly. Which is another Slitheen tie-in. So another good reason for Love and Monsters to be included on this list. As for the other 3 stories, none of them have made it. Fuck you. Although Monster of Peladon is most likely to be next, depending on whether it's season 11, when season 11. Although season 11 is most likely to be the next set, so that one's probably going to be first. But then again, don't disregard season 5 or 6. In which case, Seeds of Doom. In which case, those other 2 Ice Warrior stories are up for possible release. In which case, that brings those other 2 Ice Warrior stories with the second Doctor into contention. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. But again, Curse of Peladon was on Blu-ray by that point, in March of 2023. Remember, 2023 release. Remember, October, early November. Remember, late October, early November, hypothetical. Hypothetical October, November 2023 release. So, Curse of Peladon would be okay to go on here, but the other 3 classic Ice Warrior stories, or even as of now, are not. Yet. But that also meant I had too many. I had two cyber, but the other ones, the two, I noticed that the and or at the very least in a relative. Again, this would be the 2016 Blu-ray upscale. Again, this would be the 20. Sadly, and School Reunion, which also connects with AI, and um, Matt Moyer, you may agree with. I mean, if they released an episode of any of the spin-offs on a future compilation, I might maybe retroactively say, maybe Mona Lisa. Well, actually, what episode of Sarah Jane Adventures would be best to showcase K9? I was going to say Mona Lisa's Revenge, but that was more of a drawing of K9 coming to life. I'll let you guys decide which Sarah Jane Adventures story with K9. Oh, The Gift, which also have the Blaverine and the Slivine in it. That could have been a good option. But again, if I retroactively changed the K9 appearance to include the Sarah Jane Adventures story, or K9 and Company, that would be a future compilation would include spin-offs. But as for the rules set by both TLV, Road to the Dark Times, and the Circuit Breaker compilation release, we're sticking to the main series. Then we're sticking to the main TV series. Finally, rounding off the list at number 17 is Smith & Jones, which connects with Hour 1 as it includes the Judoon. So this was my new Judoon selection after taking out Fugitive of the Judoon and swapping it with the Haunting of... Oh, I missed that one. I forgot to do number 14, the Haunting, after doing the movie. The Haunting of the Hilladida. I forgot to do number 14 after doing the TV movie. I went straight to King's Demons. Oh, fuck's sake. Maybe Spyfall? And going back, who knows? No. Be fun. Speaking of Slivine, their cousin, the cousin planet, Speaking of the Slivine, the Absorbaloff from their cousins. Speaking of the Slivine, their twin planet Clom's inhabitants. Fuck's sake. Without the Doctor and Rose being in it that much. So yeah, I have decided on. Again, Aimless London could swap, and World War 3 could swap with Boone if it's more of a solo Slivine story rather than the family Slivine. Maybe if the list was gone to 13 or 14 stories, I might have thrown in School Reunion, as well as Into the Dalek. But I think because we need to get, like say, the third episode of Airlock was available on so that, but as I said, as a bonus. So actually, that could count as the other episode 13. And then episode 14 would be Into the Dalek or School Reunion, if we could go to 14. But by that point, you may as well go back to 18, and you may as well do all 18 on the long list if we did any more than 12. So, but as a bonus episode, maybe. Yeah, and it came, and yeah. But yeah, I think the Dean's. But yeah, so that's my shortlist for, and previously so that's my list for a hypothetical Doomsday Blu-ray release. Had they done one to tie in with the multimedia event, like I said, if hypothetically this would come out after all of Doomsday is out, as opposed to Time Lord Victorious, which was during it, and Circuit Breaker, which was towards the end but not quite the end. This would be after everything has come out, apart from possibly the web game, depending on which day it actually does come out. It could have been including the web game, depending on which day it comes out. Only the Titan comic graphic novel collection of the two Doctor in the House comics that released in the summer would have come after in terms of releases, and then that, yeah. So this would have been last thing aside from that, or second to last thing aside from that, and the web game, depending on release date specifically, or if sharing a release date. So yeah, that would be my choices based on the stories, the characters of Doomsday, and what works best. And the long list was the process of listing a number of episodes and a couple of other options whilst going through that to see what would work best before putting our shortlist for 12 stories down. Or if we were to cut more episodes out to make it maybe 8 or 10, I don't think we should do any lower than 8. I think 6 is too few, especially for the number of characters Doom meets. But if we were cutting, I actually think it'd be harder to cut down further, to be honest. In fact, you know what? No, I'm not going to cut any more down. I think 12 is a good number. Number of stories is a bit more than the Circuit Breaker one, but I think considering all of the characters and the scenarios we had to squeeze in, I think, as I mentioned, we could have gone further. We could have gone to 14. But again, by that point, we may as well have gone to 17 or 18 from the 17, 18 on the long list. So, yeah, and we, as I mentioned, Mission to the Unknown could still be a bonus on the release. It could still be 13. And we've got all of the Doomsday webcast promos, teasers, introduction, etc. as extras. Maybe even a Suze Campner interview or in conversation with extra as well. So, which is more than Time Lord Victorious got in Matsy, perhaps even Circuit Breaker. So this is actually the biggest of the 3 releases in this hypothetical scenario, even if we only had it as 12 stories compared to 14 or 18. So yeah, I'm happy with the stories I've got. I'm kind of disappointed I couldn't have some other ones, but again, having to stick with 12 and having to have a story with every of the Doctors who do appear. I do have 2 11th Doctor stories on this list, but that's mainly due to convenience regarding the other stuff. I mean, some of the other options that were considered would have bumped up episodes for the 10th Doctor. I've had some 12th and 13th Doctor episodes swapped out. There was almost lots of 12th Doctor episodes on the long list. 9th Doctor had some episodes on the long list that some of those made it. And of course, there was a couple of classics. And of course, I want to include as many Classic Who stories on this list, considering Circuit Breaker's only got the one, and it's the same one as one of the ones, and it's one of the ones from Time Lord Victorious. So it's that same stories on both releases. And there's no other Classic Who stories on Circuit Breakers. Maybe if Season 11 set was the next one, they could have gotten the Time Warrior early ahead of the Season 11 box set to tie in with one of the Sontaran stuff. But it's all New Who apart from the sole Classic Who story that is one of the ones from Time Lord Victorious. So I wanted to avoid duplicates as best as we could. Only Fugitive of the Judoon was on the consideration for being the only one that was a duplicate was under serious consideration. State of Decay maybe a slightly less serious consideration, but in the end they didn't make the long list. Swapped out with a few others, and they certainly haven't made the short list. Fugitive of the Judoon did make it for a bit, but again, when I swapped that out with Haunting of Villa Diodati and Smith and Jones, then that went. Hauntings took its place on this list. So the only reason there's only, aside from the fact there's 2 11th Doctor stories on here, I have a story from every Doctor excluding the 4th, 7th, and the 2 bonus Doctors. But with the 11th Doctor having 2 stories on here, that does mean the 4th Doctor does not get included. But I have taken out Shada and did replace it with School Reunion, so I didn't have a 4th Doctor story on here anyway after that. And I can't do a 7th Doctor story. I physically cannot tie any 7th Doctor story into anything Doomsday other than the Cybermariner and Silver Nemesis. and it's not even the same Cybermen who appear. That actually does tie in better with World Enough Time Doctor Falls than Haunting of Villa Diodati, but oh well. And also, season 25 wouldn't be on Blu-ray for another year at the time of this hypothetical release coming out. So yeah, can't do that. So I physically can't do the Seventh Doctor tie-in with Doomsday. So it's a bit disappointing I can't do a Fourth Doctor thing, considering Seven is in the movie. But again, without Invisible Enemy, it's much harder to choose, and with School Reunion not making it anyway, it's harder to choose a K9 story from that era or a story that would tie in with Doomsday, considering the pieces of Doomsday I was given, who was in it, and what stories they tied into, if any. No Fourth Doctor. K9 struggled to find a season 17 or 18 story and ended up going with School Reunion. Ended up going with School Reunion, which didn't even make the shortlist anyway. So we'll have to sadly say the Fourth Doctor doesn't make this list. But hey, he's on 3 of the 7 stories on Time Lord Victorious and the only classic story on Circuit Breaker, so he's not missing out that much. And the 7th Doctor's on TLV as well, so we've covered every Doctor up to 13, apart from the War Doctor across all 3 releases. Yeah, that's the other one who can't make it. The War Doctor isn't able to be on here. Also, no 14th or 15th Doctor stuff for this release because the stories hadn't come out yet. For future releases, they'll just have to tie them in somehow. Like Circuit Breaker's not doing that; it's only going up to 13. So if he wants to tie in 14 or 15 stuff in the future, that'll be for the next multimedia project's release. So if the next if there's a 4th multimedia project in the future, they can go up to 15. Heck, they might even be on time to make it for the 16th Doctor or whatever happens in the future. I don't know. We'll find out in 2028 or 2029. More likely 29. Depends how Circuit Breaker goes. But yeah, I think we're on a. But yeah, I think the shortlist is probably the best one we could do. Again, maybe I don't know. Maybe King's Demons could swap out with School Reunion, but then that gives 2 10th Doctor stories and no 5th Doctor, and Chameleon is still fairly a big part of the 2 Lost in Time Doomsday games. So yeah, and like I said, we've got the webcast that teases K9's inclusion in Doomsday as a bonus feature. Then we sort of got some K9 representation in that as well. So yeah, I think that would be the one story I probably would add on if I wanted to go to 13 stories or 14 with Mission to the Unknown as a bonus. Would be School Reunion. But other than that, I think I'm pretty happy with the list. As it is, the Dalek Invasion of Earth, the Faceless Ones, Terror of the Autons, the King's Demons, the Trial of a Time Lord, Mind Warp, the TV movie, Aliens of London World War III, Love and Monsters, The Wedding River Song, Cold War, Extremis, and The Haunting of Villa Diodati. With the possible plus Doomsday webcast special features, maybe a Seuss Kampner interview or in conversation, and possibly the UClan Mission to the Unknown as a bonus episode, exclusive to this Blu-ray until Mission to the Unknown gets an individual release or season 3 comes out, or the collection season 3 comes out. And now the question for all of you at home is, what would be your hypothetical Doomsday Blu-ray tie-in compilation? And now the question for all of you at home is, what would be your hypothetical Doomsday tie-in compilation Blu-ray consist of episode-wise? Which stories would you, from the characters and the tie-ins and the stuff that appear in the Doomsday stories, which ones would you choose to go on the list? But it's the length too. Excuse me. It's 23. So yes. So it's 30 episodes, and the older TV movie. So I think 12 stories, 30 episodes, length of maybe 31. Going by New Who standards, but then again, I suppose you'd have to combine the classical Who ones into New Who standards. Yeah. So 12 stories with 30 combined. So yeah, just fill out 6 to 12 episode stories. But other bits you don't want to do, I'm not worried about the games personally, and also that Puffin short story, I'm not really worried about it now. If it was one of the these, the Puffin Classics, Doctor Who meets classic adventure stories, absolutely I would have gotten that one. But I got that and the Frankenstein one recently, actually. But yeah, and it's not going to be that, and they're not doing any more of those, which is a shame. So yeah, I'm not as worried about that one now. But yeah. Hello everyone, Nick here. Hello everyone, Nick here. Fuck. Because even though these stories would somewhat tie to Doom, or the characters that Doom meets, it did feel like a bit of a misinformation. I think I also had all routes, and depending on the specific date in this hypothetical release date, even if it's like, even if it's. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Whoniversals YouTube channel. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne bonus content YouTube channel.